Hello and welcome to Cup of Joe. That is the sound of the Cold Wave. New iced coffee brewer I've been playing around with. It's super simple actually, so it's really cool. You actually just brew the coffee like usual and then you put it in the container and then drop in the center thing, which is 100 of these tubes, and it's all frozen. Doesn't dilute the coffee at all, it just flash chills it. I'm gonna do a whole video on that soon. So it's been a super busy summer, and I want to thank you for supporting the work that I'm doing, Coffee Lovers Magazine and Coffee Lovers Radio, Coffee Lovers TV, the Coffee Lovers Box, everything. I'm still working on getting this Patreon thing kind of moving forward. I think it's a bit of an odd experience for a lot of people, but to me it represents a lot of really great opportunities to provide some fun stuff. And at the moment it's just a matter of getting people aware that it's a thing and bringing people to the Patreon and seeing if it can be of significant value. Now, when it comes to coffee businesses, of course, the biggest thing is always going to be selling of coffee. I know that sounds simple, but every person who reads the magazine or watches the videos or listens to the podcast or comes here, you all are at some point, probably in the next week, going to go buy some coffee. You're going to need some really good coffee, and that means that has to be the number one thing that I do, which is why the Coffee Lovers Box now exists. And that's one of the main focuses going forward. But everything else has a lot of really good potential. The whole idea of specialty coffee and the way coffee is being perceived right now and produced and enjoyed is really new. It's I've talked about this in another few points, but it's really like a new market. Some of the parallels are the way that craft beer has progressed through its iterations, and on the other side of things, so craft beer went from a lot of mass-produced beer to making much more, craft, specialty, really interesting, flavorful beers that are all about the intricacies of the process and that sort of thing. And that sounds a lot like coffee as well. And on the flip side, with specialty coffee kind of becoming more accessible to the average consumer, that's a lot like the process that the wine industry has gone through, where the wine industry went from being this really high-end special thing where you really needed to know a lot to actually enjoy good wine, to really good wine being super accessible. So coffee's kind of doing two of those things right now, and there's a lot of information and experiences and really cool stuff to share, and so that's kind of what I'm just working on. One of the things that I'm doing to try to make really good coffee more accessible is playing around with the way that I describe coffee. So if you've seen the Coffee Lovers Box, and I just have one of the bags here. This might be coming out backwards, but as I'm recording on my phone this episode. So this description here is my description, and then this is the roaster and the name of the coffee and their description. And what I'm doing with my descriptions, if this is coming out backwards, that says black currant with fudge. What I'm doing with that is I'm kind of coming up with a sort of compound experience. So when I drink the coffee, when I drink this coffee, I think of black currants with fudge, or I also say sometimes it's like dates or fig. It's just a rich fruit sugar sweetness and fudginess to the whole thing. And what most of the industry does, what most coffee roasters do when they're describing their coffees, is they'll list off tasting notes. And that's not wrong. In fact, that might be the more correct way to do it. The reason for that is it's all based off of a common language. So the Specialty Coffee Association has developed a set of descriptions that are based around real actual scents and tastes to create a language that is universal throughout the world. Because if you taste this coffee and I say this coffee tastes like blackcurrant and fudge, well, you might never have had blackcurrants before, and what you taste in here that I taste as blackcurrant might taste like a fruit that you've had that I've never had before. And if we're always just going off of our own taste experiences, then it's really hard, as far as the industry goes, to communicate, to have a universal, consistent language, so that if you are familiar with that language, you can look at any of the coffees that are accurately described with that and just know what they're going to taste like. But the problem is, the way I see the problem for people who are new to coffee, the problem is that you have to know that language in order for the consistency to matter. Because otherwise it's just a list of tastes. And you might look at, well, I don't have it on here. On one of the other ones, it has listed chocolate, almond, and mango. You might look at that list of tastes, and that might make you think a certain... You might try to coalesce that into what you think the coffee tastes like, but just knowing that those tastes exist in there doesn't tell you what that experience is going to be like, to me. So I try to come up with a description of the experience as a whole. And it's usually something that's reminiscent of a taste that I've had in the past, or something that I can conjure up, like having blackcurrants in fudge, or fudge brownie would have been good for this as well, because it's got this like rich texture. So if you can imagine a rich, sweet berry sauce on top of a fudge brownie, that's kind of what that's like. The other challenge, of course, is that when I am describing coffees like this, some people do get the impression that the coffees are flavored. And because of that, it's possible I may not continue doing that descriptive process. 1 second. This coffee is more than chilled. It only takes a couple minutes. In fact, since this was just out of the freezer, this was probably ready about 5 minutes ago. But now this is super cold, and it's not watered down at all. It's just really chilled. I have been looking for a really good recommendation for cold coffee for a long time. And what I usually tell people is to either make cold brew, which doesn't give you a full extraction of the coffee, or to make pour over, Japanese ice pour over, which I have some videos on the channel on Coffee Lovers TV, and that is a really good thing. But I think no matter how you cut it, you're just not going to be able to beat the full extraction of actually fully properly brewing the coffee and then chilling it quickly. That is a really flavorful and delicious iced coffee, and not bitter at all. Okay, sorry, back to my point as I was talking about descriptions. So one of the concerns is just people thinking that the coffees are flavored, and they're not. All the coffees that I ever sell, I will never, ever, ever sell a flavored coffee. I will only ever sell coffees that I believe are good representations of the work of the people who made them. And where I believe, as far as I can tell, that those people who are responsible for making the coffees got the value that they deserve out of them as well. That's a little bit more difficult to tell sometimes. Transparency in coffee production is still really new, but I think that's going to be a growing conversation as we move forward. Yeah, if you haven't gotten a Coffee Lovers box yet, I want to go grab one. Shop.coffeeloversmag.com. If you're on the second tier of the Patreon, and I think the higher tiers I include this on as well, you'll get a 10% discount coupon, which you can use on the Coffee Lovers box. Feel free to go ahead and use that. And these brewers, the Cold Waves, I'm going to have these on the shop really soon. So you're just going to be able to buy them directly from me. You can use your 10% discount on those as well. Really easy. Whew. So let's see, what else do I got going on? That was the bulk of what I wanted to talk about. I have started offering coffees that have been in past Coffee Lovers boxes. So if you have ordered a box and you like some of the coffees in them, you can go to the store, to shop.coffeeloversmag.com. You can just follow the link to the Coffee Lovers box page, and then you can navigate around. You also, if you did order a box, you should have received an email from me linking you to past box coffees. But there's a whole category of Coffee Lovers box coffees that are coffees that have been in the past boxes. Now, not every single coffee is there because in some cases the roasters have run out. Because I am working with small roasters and I'm doing the special thing with the box, one of the things I'm actually looking to do is feature coffees that are rare, that you may never see again, or may in fact only be available in the box. Each month so far, one of the coffees has been a limited availability. The Sumatra from last month, which was really popular, is unfortunately all gone. We actually got the last batch of it for the box itself. This month, the Congo from Conduit is also of a limited quantity, though there's probably going to be a bit left after the box. I don't know. I do know how much approximately Jesse has, but he is just starting off with it, so he probably will have it for maybe a month or so after this box is out. That Congo, really amazing. That's this one right here, the blackcurrant with fudge that I was describing. I actually really like Conduit's description. Layers of spiced fruit and cocoa are mysterious at first, but clarify as the cup cools. Mysterious is my favorite explanation of that coffee, and it's just a delight to drink. I'm actually going to be getting myself a stash that I'm going to freeze. And I'll talk about freezing coffee on the next video, as I'm going to do an article about that for the magazine. But freezing coffee is totally fine. In fact, it's a really good practice if you need to keep coffee for a long time. Like the reason I'm going to be freezing these coffees is because I have a lot of coffee. I have a lot of coffee to go through. I want this Congo, but I'm just not going to be able to enjoy all the coffee that I have. And so I want to get the Congo now while it's available, and then probably enjoy it in 2 or 3 months. But if I just sit it in a bag on the counter, or even in a Ziploc bag, or in a storage container on the counter, it's just going to degrade over that time period. So what I can do instead, and my plan is to probably freeze it in 4-ounce batches, and then I'll put them in individual Ziploc bags of 4 ounces, and then put all those into some kind of opaque bag, just to prevent light. The reasons for the Ziploc bag is to remove all the air, as much air as possible, and then the opaqueness is just incidental light from opening the freezer. But I'm going to have those in there and just stick them in the freezer, and they're just going to stay in there. I don't need to worry about moisture or air or anything like that because they're in sealed containers, and they're just going to keep really well. It's no problem doing that. Then when I am ready to have the Congo, I'll just take out a 4-ounce batch each time. And the reason for the 4-ounce batches is just because if I froze a pound, I would have to take the whole pound out and have it defrost on the counter, and then it can't refreeze it. Insofar as my understanding is, refreezing is a bad idea, as with a lot of foods. That's usually not a good idea. But if you put it in the, to me, 4-ounce bag, I can go through that in a few days, and each time I unfreeze a 4-ounce bag, that coffee is going to taste nearly as good as when I got it. So yeah, that's going to be exciting. I'm sure I'll do some videos on that as well. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy this iced coffee. This is I threw the bag away already because it was the last of it. It's from Seattle Coffee Works. It's a Panama, I can't remember what it was, some kind of geisha that I don't think they have on their site anymore. It's actually really good, but it does require some hand holding as far as the brew goes. I was considering it for the box, but I found that just getting the brew off slightly made a lot of the richness not come out, and so it's too much of a finicky brew for me. But this is like an iced chocolate milk right now, which is kind of, well, I guess if I had milk in here, it would be an iced chocolate milk. There's no milk. I could keep rambling on and on. I think that's it for me. Thank you so much for pledging on the Patreon here. If you have any feedback, any questions, please feel free to comment below. Let me know and tell your friends, and let's make this something really cool.